thank you for everyone who has turned up. We just sort of said this. I think there might be a few people who are still coming along, and also for everybody who's registered for the webinar, so that we can provide this as a recording to you later. It's really exciting for us to be able to talk about our new membership model and the member portal. And today we want to sort of focus on what are the key benefits of the membership and of the portal. So a quick overview of that. We really value the continuing professional development that we've put into this membership model. That's been a really big change for Music EDnet. We've always had daytime as a flagship offering, but now really looking at how we can package up that content as ongoing sort of and continuing professional development. We're also looking at how we can help teachers explore innovations in learning spaces and technology in other schools that are happening around Australia, New Zealand, and of course throughout Southeast Asia and international schools as well. And provide teaching resources that support the integration of technology. That's always been a key part of what we've been about. And also to help streamline the software license management for schools, because we are well and truly aware that can be an issue for some teachers and for IT departments with so many different platforms to manage BYOD programs, etc. And also to support the actual equipment and technology that's being used at your school. And I'll show you how we do that through the membership portal. And if you stay to the end as well, we've got some bonuses we'd like to talk to about everyone who's here at the webinar, and what we're offering in term 4. So I just want to sort of pull back a little bit, and I suppose the term we've been using is the reintroduction of Music EDnet. Those who know Music EDnet well know that our illustrious founder and managing director for many years, Keith Huxtable, has moved into sort of retirement. He's retired from day-to-day operations in the business, and although he's been an amazing asset and resource for the company in the background and continues to help us with his consultancy and his incredible knowledge about equipment upgrades in schools, etc., and his incredible passion for continuing to research emerging trends and technology which help keep us at the cutting edge of what's going on for music education and technology. But a big part of this, and I suppose this is started when I joined the company nearly 2 years ago, is that we wanted to really look at where Music EDnet was headed with this significant change with Keith moving into retirement. And really, I think from the outside looking in, it was about how do we make sure that everyone knows what Music EDnet actually do. Like, we've got so many customers across Australia and New Zealand, and it does feel a little bit like, different schools might think, oh, Music EDnet just sells Soundtrap, don't they? Music EDnet just does AV installations and sells equipment, or isn't that just the guys who do the daytime conference? I think we mean a lot of different things to different schools, and we've made a real effort to clarify the message about who we are, what we do, and to refine what our sort of core business is and core role for schools and for music departments. So a big part of this presentation tonight is about introducing that to you, reintroducing where we are at and where we're headed. And it's really important for us that we have that clarity around the message, which is why we sort of looked at a membership model. Those who would remember the previous Music EDnet membership model was tailored around individual teachers having access to resources and discounts and our survival kit. But this is a fundamental shift that we're looking at, a membership model where the school is the member, and that gives exclusive access to all the relevant teachers within the music department. But I say relevant because it also applies to IT departments as well. There's a lot of support. Yeah, so we really want the school to be the member, the teachers to have access, and as I was saying, the IT department get benefit from this as well, because there are lots of work we've done to help streamline software license management and help create inventories of schools' technology, which can really assist the IT department. So, and a membership model is really important to us because we want to be able to have a foundation for our relationships with schools, which keeps planning and thoughts around learning spaces, innovation for music departments, pedagogy, and where you're headed with your music programs at the front of mind. And we know that we've got a lot to offer as a technology partner that's reliable and trusted and front of mind when you do have those questions. So we wanted to create a membership model so that we could have that connection with school customers all over the country. And then that goes into how are the benefits of that accessed, which is where the member portal comes in. But we did a bunch of stakeholder engagement and focus groups about a year and a half ago, talking about what holistic support for a music department would look like, and it became very apparent that there were sort of 5 key pillars to that. And feel free to look around this page. We'll circulate this slide deck, but obviously I'm not going to talk about everything that's in green down there. That's really lays out the depth of the membership model. But it's really the 5 key pillars that we've got at the top there. The school dashboard, which you'll see, is about the support for license and technology management, having a community of practice so teachers can learn from each other and support each other, continuing professional development around technology, resources for the classroom, and the support around creation of innovative learning spaces. So those 5 key pillars were what we picked up from our focus groups and speaking to teachers, and really wanted to make that the basis of what we were doing with the membership model and the member portal. And then along the journey, we ended up having a conversation with Brad and Pete, who are here tonight as well, who have created gig-based learning, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. And we've been working with Pete and Brad for a very long time, and the role that gig-based learning could play within the membership or the member portal was something we were exploring as a resource content partner. But also there were just incredible synergies between the philosophy of what Pete and Brad were setting up for gig-based learning and what we were doing, where we're heading with Music EDnet. And there became a point where we were talking a few months ago, and we realised there was a real opportunity here for a joining of forces to become greater than the sum of our parts. And many of you who've seen our marketing and EDMs over the last few months have seen that we've announced that, and we've been talking about that and how powerful we believe that is. And it's really made a massive change to what this membership model can be. So without further ado, I'm going to quickly throw over to Brad if you want to sort of just jump onto that next slide, Brad, and just sort of talk about GBL joining us from the Pedagogical Foundation.
Thanks, Kai. And so Pete and I have, as Kai said, have been working with Kai in his former guise and Keith in his former guise and Warwick in his current guise. It's a lot of guys working together. And the thing that really knocked my socks off was that Keith was keen to ask the question, what are you trying to do? And I had never worked with somebody who was in retail who really drilled into, yes, but what is it you're trying to do? And so that fits beautifully with my research. And I call him the other Elliot. John Elliot says, when you get right down to it, this whole thing is about how can we make our time together meaningful? He says that's the big deal. And Professor Rogelski, one of my great heroes of pedagogy, says, well, it ultimately comes down to, what should I teach? And he says, well, so there's all that can be taught, but of all that can be taught, what's most worth teaching? Circle 1. And then he says, well, of all that's most worth teaching, what can I teach well and effectively? Which gives us that thin wedge there. And we hope that it gets bigger over time. But he says, when you ask these questions, whether you like it or not, you're sliding into philosophy. And so we developed this approach called philosophically based curriculum development. And when we ask those questions about what should I teach, what can I teach, then whether we like it or not, we're engaged in philosophy. We're sliding into philosophy. And Professor Rogelski says when you slide into philosophy, there's rules to go by. And one of the, we like to call them rules of thumb. actually? And so one of the ways we can think about these big questions is something that Aristotle called the septum circumstantiae. And he says when we neglect the why and the who, it leads to deep sorrow and regret. We don't want deep sorrow and regret in our music classrooms for us or our students. So as part of the septum circumstantiae for music education, we've rejigged the traditional order, and we've put the who are we, because remember that it ultimately comes down to what can I teach well and effectively, and why? Why am I teaching it? And so these are philosophical questions, and which is why when I looked at evidence-based practice for my PhD research, I realized that we couldn't just do what the government says the evidence tells us to teach, because it ultimately comes down to who am I and who are my students. And I found that these questions, these sliding into philosophies, had more in common with the original medical model than what we were being told about in education. So I adapted what I call Hoffman's four circles model of evidence-based practice, which she uses in the health professions, and I call it educative evidence-based practice. And just recently, because we've been talking about this framework in community, we've added an S, because we realize that actually it's not a practice, it's practices. All of us are doing what we do in the classroom in our own way. And so rather than just the evidence telling us what to do, the four circles model has classroom expertise, and then research evidence is there, but then we also balance that with the values, preferences, and circumstances of our students and information from the classroom context. Over the last little while, we've been talking to teachers and thinking about things and developing this model, and realize that in the medical model, it's fine to talk about the doctor's expertise, but actually in the music classroom, the teacher's values, preferences, and circumstances come back to that original question that Professor Brzezelski says, what should I teach? So then we need this thing. How do you decide how to integrate the information from those four circles? Well, in medicine, it's called practitioner reasoning. I call it pedagogical reasoning. And it's taking that information and filtering it through this key question: is this learning experience that we're about to embark on educative? Will it be educative? Was it educative? And Elliott and Silverman define educative as something that leads to the care, growth, and positive transformation of all the individuals now and into the future. So when we're doing that, these are pedagogical questions, but how does that pan out in the real world? Well, Pete and I developed the pivot framework, and we developed this over the last dozen years. And so we talk about four spaces, and these questions about the who and the why fall into this first space we call the pedagogical space. But the things that we're doing have to take place in the real world. So then we think about, all right, so of all that we want to teach, where should we teach it? And how can we set up our physical environment to enable us to do the teaching and learning that we and our students want to engage in? And then the next space, how can we use the virtual space, blended learning, the technological, and for some of us it might be flipped learning, YouTube videos, LMSs. How can we use that virtual space to help us to realize what we're trying to do? And then the final space, the technological space, what musical and other technology like perhaps headphones, electric pianos, MIDI keyboards, these kinds of physical technologies, how can we utilize those to help us to come back to that pedagogical space to answer that key fundamental question: how can we make this meaningful, and how can we ensure that this is educative? But oftentimes when people talk about that, it's all airy-fairy. So the role for Pete and I over the last 12 years has been to put meat on the bones of our philosophy, and that is how we've developed and continue to develop gig-based learning, where we say it's all about the gig. When we thought about what should I teach and what can I teach well and effectively, we came down to, well, it's all about the gig. And so our classrooms are technologically filled spaces of active music making where young people have the best possible time. And at the end of the lesson, we ask ourselves, was that fun? And would we come back tomorrow? And the answer is generally yes. But then Rachel Dwyer found that actually most often teachers don't have the skills to ask these questions. So she went into schools in Queensland and said to teachers, what about the who and the why? And they would say to her, I've never thought about that. And so she said, it really seems like teachers need a community of practice. And so I came up with this concept in my PhD thesis called Dialogic Critically Reflective Practice. Yes, it's good to work your way around the circles of educative evidence-based practice. It's good to be critical about it, to think about your worldview, to think about your positionality. But if you really want to launch your teaching through the stratosphere, doing that in community. And that's why we started the GBL community of practice, and that's why we're really excited to join with Music EDnet so that we can get these 4 spaces of pedagogical reasoning and through dialogic critically reflective practice in community, we can affect some real change in our classroom and hopefully in your classroom too.
Indeed. Thank you, Brad. And I think that what we wanted to achieve with the start of this presentation tour of the portal is to talk about the membership model and talk about this beautiful alignment between what Brad and Pete have created with the gig-based learning model, the pivot framework, and how it aligns so directly with the way that Music EDnet have always dealt with schools around those questions. What do you want to achieve? What are the spaces that you've got? What technology can you use to achieve those goals? And so that gives you everyone a bit of a background about how we've had gig-based learning come under Music EDnet and into Music EDnet, and Brad and Pete joining the team. And it's been a really important, message for us to get across that there's this great alignment between what Music EDnet have always had, but now with this with gig-based learning as part of it, we've got a real directive around how we can speak to schools to help sort of develop their learning spaces and to look at the pivot framework as a way to get there. The membership model itself, we've explained, but we needed a place for schools to be able to go and for teachers to access everything we wanted to be part of this. And so we have created a member portal, which you have seen, obviously, us talk about in a lot of our marketing and EDMs, etc. You may have even seen some of the videos on the website and the information that's available on the website. But our member portal is intended to be a place where member schools get access to a secure portal. That portal links directly to the school's profile in our database so that we can work with the school on building a profile of equipment, technology, access to relevant sort of support resources, as well as everything that Brad has just talked about as well. We've got the community of practice in here. We've got PD opportunities for teachers, teaching resources that come from GBL, as well as other partners, as you'll see, and a space to look at the learning spaces of other schools, what's happening in other schools, what are innovative teachers doing and wanting to share with other teachers so they can get inspired. So you can see those 5 pillars that we sort of discovered in our focus group and various chats with teachers 18 months ago, also represented on the member portal. But as we go through this too, we're going to sort of refer back to that pivot model because there's such an underlying connection between the pivot framework and what we're trying to achieve with Music EDnet have done across the years. So I'm going to start with continuing professional development, which is the pedagogical part of the pivot framework. There are 2 key sort of tenets to our CPD offering. First is the community of practice. So with Brad and Pete engaging teachers on an ongoing basis, and you'll see when we get to a later slide about that, provides an opportunity for teachers to work with each other, to inspire each other, to get professional development out of that ongoing synchronous and asynchronous connection through the community of practice. We also have a lot of video-based PD content that comes from both the daytime archive from our conferences over the years. So we've got close to 40 odd videos up there inside the portal, coming from daytime content over the last 3 daytime conferences, as well as content's been created by Brad and Pete as part of gig-based learning. So that's a growing archive, and there for teachers to be able to access ongoing PD options. We have other video resources as well, which come from our own creation and others in our network as well. So just providing extra resources for teachers to learn about technology, which can include software walkthroughs, and also can include full-blown sessions from daytime. And you can see the recordings that are streamed as part of daytime have been archived and put there into the portal. And a lot of the PD that we're trying to sort of target and put up there, it's the same philosophy we have when we put together a program at daytime. We want teachers to be inspiring other teachers about what they're achieving and what they've learned and what they can share. And you will have noticed that with the uniqueness of the daytime program over the years, and the same continues into what we're offering with the video-based content. We're going to throw it over to you, Pete, just to sort of talk us through how gig-based learning has influenced the PD offering.
Thanks, Guy. Hey, everyone. Nice to see you, and thanks for being here. Brad and I always work through the pivot framework when we're designing something. So as classroom music teachers ourselves, myself for a decade and Brad for a long time, I won't say how many years, we think through the 4 spaces as we create resources, as we create videos on YouTube and any other thing that we create. So as you can see there, we have the music EDnet philosophy and frameworks. So as we research and as we read, we try to synthesize that into something that a classroom music teacher, specifically a classroom music teacher, might find valuable. And so we're publishing all the time our current thinking, Brad's research in his PhD, but also post-grad research as well, and papers that we're also writing together. In the second box there, you can see they're teacher-facing video courses. So as teachers, we realize that it's nice to have resources, but sometimes you need a bit of decoding. And so we create teacher-facing video courses to teach you how to use our resources. And so often they have a companion resource, which you can find there in the student-facing resources. And these are gig-based learning for junior high school, for 9 and 10, and 11 and 12 as well. And these are resources that we've put on an LMS in Canvas, but also have all the back-end resources as well inside the portal. And it's important to know that these have been tried and tested with Year 8, battle tested in last period on a Friday. And there's something that we're really proud of and something that we've been working on for ages, decades for Brad and then us together in the classroom as well. Moving on to the second row, you can see equipment recommendations. So as we're working through the pivot framework, I'm always thinking, okay, so we've got the pedagogy and the philosophy, we've got the physical environment that we're working with as well. And so we've been developing a few different stations that you can use in the classroom. And since leaving the classroom a few years ago, installing these and helping other people to create their own versions of them as well. So you can see there the Jam Pod, we have the Jam stations, we have got many other stations as well that we have that you can physically set up yourself or get us to do as well. And we try to distribute knowledge around these physical stations as well. Like I said, you can do it yourself, and we've created spreadsheets and links to our favorite gear and things that are GBL approved, things that we've tested and we love. And then lastly, it's flexible with your context. So we recognize that no 2 classrooms are the same, no 2 schools are the same. Students are different in their context. And so something that works over here is not necessarily going to work over there. And so always thinking through the framework and circling back around to the pedagogy and respecting the context that you find yourself in. So that's a little bit of like a snapshot of what we offer, what we do, and what we've been doing with the schools over the last couple of years. Thanks, Guy.
Thanks, Pete. So everything that we have in the PD section of the member portal is hosted on a custom LMS. And that LMS basically as a function for allowing you to watch a video of a concept of say a session from daytime or some of the GBL content, answer some basic quiz questions, and then get a certificate. This is, we're looking at the MyPD profile. So as I said before, the school is the member, but each individual teacher has their own user profile within the member portal. So this will track for each teacher, what PD you've looked at, what you've watched, what might be in progress, and also any of the certificates that you've earned will exist here and can be downloaded. Those certificates of completion basically are auto-generated once you get a successful completion of a quiz. There's 5 questions in the quiz generally for the daytime content. Some of the GBL content has more videos in the series, and so there are more quizzes. But just an 80% pass rate there, and you get the certificate, and it's just gives you an idea of the content you've created or that you've watched, and how long that was, and what standard it's addressing on the certificate as well. So that becomes really handy for teachers, obviously, to sort of have that just stored there in your user profile for when teacher registration comes around. And next, Pete, I might throw back to you just to sort of talk through the community of practice.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to as a music teacher. Sometimes you feel alone and you're siloed off into a corner of the school, or you might be the only music teacher in your context, and so it's always good to have community. Something that we think through is it's great to share what we do as classical music teachers, but it's also good to be critical upon our practice, and it's very hard if you're not in the same physical location to be critical of each other's practice. And so something that we've been thinking through is this DCRP, something that came out of Brad's research as well, which feel free to chime in, Brad. But dialogic critically reflective practice, DCRP. And so we provide opportunities to do that, to reflect on your own practice and to share what you're up to, and in the hope that it's helpful for each other. And we do that through 2 main ways, synchronous and asynchronous. We call the synchronous format the weekly jam. We meet on Zoom, 4:30 every Wednesday. We present at that weekly jam. We get guests to present as well, people that are researching, people that are doing great things in the classroom. And we also have open Q&A sessions as well. And that continues on throughout the week through our WhatsApp community. And we have different sub-chats, so you can see there we have the weekly jam Q&A. We have a space to discuss pedagogy, some technology chats, jamming with the cats, which is just a term that we use to talk about research and academic articles. We share narcissistic news. It's okay to celebrate each other's wins and tell us what you've been up to and what's been working. And then we also share things that we've been listening to and valuable resources that we find on the internet. Anything from you, Brad?
I think you did a great job there. And I think it comes back to Professor Rajewski saying, when you slide into philosophy, there's some rules to go by. And one of the things we treasure about the community of practice is that the criticality is turned inward to think about our own assumptions and beliefs. And rather than getting involved in social media, my brain is bigger than your brain. In the community of practice for GBL, we come together and there are rules to go by. And one of those key things is to come around great pieces of literature and think about what the cats have thought about and how that applies in our context. So rather than a free-for-all where we're trying to convince each other that we're right, we come together to think about our own practice and ask ourselves the tough questions in dialogue with each other.
Amazing. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Pete. So moving through the pivot framework, the next is the physical space. And the member portal really values, and in our membership model, we really value helping teachers learn about what's happening in other schools, getting inspired to look at how they can take the space they've got, take the equipment they've got, make the most of it, bit of redesign, repurpose, or of course, music departments periodically are going to need to look at, upgrading facilities, upgrading equipment, transferring equipment out for new, technology advancements that have taken place. And we're here to sort of show what's happening in schools around the country. We do a lot of work at Music EDnet, as Pete and Brad have done as well. And so collectively now we're doing that work across our consulting services that can start with, a review of what's happening at the school right the way up to the traditional work that Music EDnet has done to, design and build and install, big upgrades, whether it's recording studios or performing arts centres. So this learning spaces area is about sort of, showing you what's happening in other schools, and we're always going to be looking for teachers who want to share their stories as well. And we've got some feature stories which, and this is a great one at Monterey Secondary College in Victoria, and Rob did a fantastic presentation at the Daytime Conference in May this year as well. And Rob's a great, example of how, he was inspired by what Brad and Pete were doing, and now is, passing the baton on and inspiring others. And what he's done there at Monterey Secondary College is absolutely outstanding. And it's a pleasure for us to be able to feature this in the member portal as well, and hopefully provide that inspiration to others. There's a big space in here as well that we've built for teachers to explore emerging trends and new technologies, and also to look at the key equipment and considerations for building spaces. So we've looked at 4 key spaces: theatre and performance, media and podcasting, school-based recording studio, and the music composition and production lab, which has evolved so much now and is often very much a BYOD space. And so we've got, we've looked at all the equipment that you would need to consider for those sort of spaces, and we've taken the opportunity to really sort of lay out some information that's intended to help inform teachers, so you can make more informed decisions when inevitably you get to the point of needing to look at what you can do to improve the space, or equipment upgrades, etc. We're presenting the gear in a way that is just, it's professional development in another form. There's a lot of information in this section. There's a lot of depth and breadth of the information in this section. We've got, in each of those 4 spaces, there are 6 key equipment categories. So it's 24 categories of equipment overall, with links and videos for teachers, so you can sort of learn more about that particular equipment in an educational context, and also links to product pages so that you can actually explore the gear that you might be interested in buying. We also, it's really important for us to sort of be able to provide the support for the technology in space that's being used at the school. And the first, early one of the slides, we saw the dashboard, the first page that you arrive at in the member portal. We're drilling in here a little bit, and you can see that this has been populated by our dummy school, which we call Harmony Grove High School. And basically, this is a space that teachers interact with. So when a member school first gets access, it's pretty much empty. But then it's a case of like adding in the curriculum, the learning spaces, adding in the technology. Any software that's been purchased through Music EDnet will obviously automatically be there. But the value of doing this is to be able to access these custom technology support resources. So we want to help you build a profile of what's being used at your school, so you can access the support resources to help around that technology. And a big part of this too is with us getting involved and creating a technology review. So you'll see when we get to the end, there's a fantastic offer we've got for schools at the moment about getting your membership started with a free technology review. And the technology review basically is us coming to the school, having a look at what you've got, and then providing a report. But there's a bit more detail about that to come along. But you can see how this connects to us wanting to sort of help schools help teachers see what's possible, but then be there to help guide you through making those plans and looking at what you want to put into the school and create those innovative learning spaces. Pete, I might bring you back on to talk about the teaching resources part.
Yeah, so the teaching resources range in terms of teacher-facing and student-facing, like I said before. You can see there the first picture with Brad talking about academic literature. So anything from his research or something that we've done together, we create videos that and we curate them in a way that you can consume them in a structured fashion. We also have the student-facing resources, which is the last picture, and we've kind of just like linked them in with the physical environment as well. So it's all linked, but essentially teaching programs from year 7 to 12. And that's an example of a year 7 and 8 resource that we've used with guided practice sessions where students can sit down with headphones on with a guitar or whatever instrument and learn the piece of music with us teaching them. And then in the middle one is, an example of a GarageBand course that we've created, and so that comes with both teacher-facing and student-facing resource together. So that's a little example of what we've curated inside the portal.
And so the teaching resources part, which I suppose speaks to the virtual space and the pivot framework, is led by the fantastic resources that Brad and Pete have created. But we've also partnered with a bunch of other content partners as well, Australian and international, and we've got quite a collection and a growing collection of content partners there that have given our members access to some exclusive content that sometimes they can't even find if they just go looking for it from the content creators' websites. But the idea is that we're helping support them because we've gone on a mission to find content creators that we really value the work they're doing. And we're helping support them by giving them exposure about what they're doing. But in return, Music EDnet members get access to a range of resources to try out in the classroom, stuff that you can use the next day as well. This is our primary school focused content partners. And we've got sort of partners here from Australia and from overseas as well. Tyler and Jessica from the US. So really incredible help, technology-based help for generalist music teachers as well, who need to be able to get started in the music in the music classroom for primary. And we'll continue to grow this list, but we're very proud to be working with these content partners. Secondary high school focused content partners, and of course there is some crossover with this as well. We can see that Midnight Music, everyone knows of Katie, obviously her community-based model is one that sort of is available for teachers who are primary or secondary, but she's been really generous in the way that she's provided support for Music EDnet over the years, but certainly in the contribution she's made to the portal here as well. Learning ideas from New Zealand, and Duncan's got some fantastic stuff there to help teachers learn about recording and mixing. Teach EDM and electronic music elements from the US, incredible program that gets students started using Soundtrap. So yeah, very proud to be working with these content partners, and we'll continue to grow that library as well, so that we've got our member teachers having access to a growing library of resources. The next benefit to talk about is back to the dashboard again. In the virtual space, we've got the license of the management, the license management for the software that the school is using. This screenshot is from the first level of the dashboard, where you get an overview of the software licenses that are happening with Music EDnet or without. And I say that because it's really important. Something like GarageBand down here, we don't sell GarageBand because obviously it comes through Mac, but by adding the software that you haven't purchased through Music EDnet, you get immediate access to those custom support resources that I mentioned before as well. Just drilling in a little bit further to the software, you can see an example here where you can see, you start to see more information around what is actually being used at the school, details of the arrangement and the license, so how many seats, when does it expire, documentation that relates to it, who is the account contact for the school, etc., what would be the renewal cost, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, there is access to renewal quotes, single-click quotes for getting renewal, and where possible, we're looking at helping schools align the renewal dates on software, so we can have one touch or one click kind of renewal across the board for everything to make it easy for IT departments and music teachers. But again, as we've mentioned a few times, the support resources for the specific software, appear here in the portal. So you can see the examples of this include, articles, docs, videos, web pages. We've collated quite a library of support resources, which we keep updated. And whatever you've got for software and for your hardware, you'll see in a moment that it gives you access to that range of stuff. So the final benefit here, I suppose, is that the technology, talking about the technological space in the pivot framework, the same thing applies. I mentioned this earlier. You update or populate the dashboard with the technology being used at your school, and then get instant access to the support resources. In the early days, we are anticipating that schools will put equipment in, and it might not already have resources in our list of links and support resources, but we'll simply just keep adding and adding to that, so that it wouldn't be long between sort of putting a piece of equipment into your portal and then those links appearing. So, and we're really, really keen to sort of work with schools, to be able to build that profile and that list of resources. As you can see here, more examples of the type of custom resources there, whether they're articles or they're video-based or they're web pages, and generally stuff that comes from the manufacturer or the publisher. We're very careful about making sure that we are providing high-quality support resources for the equipment that's there. And then if you can't find that, you can always contact us. So you can easily put a support ticket in or email us, and the support ticket will instantly create a new ticket in our support system, and then we'll be able to sort of respond to any requests for support immediately. Pete, I'm going to throw it to you just to sort of talk through some of the bonuses that we've got coming up.
Yeah, awesome. So something that we've been discussing is just helping the community to come together, and so one way we can do that is in person at the daytime conference. So anyone that's part of a member school will get a free online ticket to daytime, or 20% discount for in-person tickets. So that's just incentivizing us to all come together. So we're chiming in the weekly jam, maybe we're chatting in WhatsApp, and then we're also coming together at least once a year, maybe more. We'll see, and to be in the same room as each other, which is very exciting. And if we move to, we've got another bonus for you, and Kai actually mentioned it earlier. We want to get to your school as well, as much as possible, and especially during this time that we're setting up the portal. We'd love to get to know schools, and particularly the founding schools of the membership. And so, bonus number 2, music department technology review. Would love to come and inspect your music department and survey all the gear. So when we come to schools, we love to touch the gear, write down the model numbers, populate that in the dashboard, and so that we can get the lay of the land. And while we're doing that, also having a chance to observe your classroom and how it works and how you're using the technology in the classroom with students. And so as we populate the dashboard, we'll be observing and then facilitating a team discussion with your faculty, if you're lucky to have a faculty. So music teachers can often be by themselves, like I said, but also faculties of 5 classroom music teachers plus peripatetics. And so facilitating discussions so that everyone gets a chance to participate in discussion around the technology and the pinch points and the hopes and dreams that you'd like to have. And then lastly, we'd scurry away and create a report and detailing what you've got, what you might be able to do in your space, and anything else that we've discussed as well. And we can also upload that to the dashboard. So all of this is just using the dashboard, but we're doing it for you. And usually that would require us to charge a large fee because we are coming out to schools. But member prices from next year onwards will be $600 plus GST. But incentivizing you guys to jump on right now, we'd love to come to this school for free. And so obviously travel costs apply if you're outside of Adelaide, Melbourne and Sydney. Brad and I are in Sydney, Kai's in Melbourne, and Warwick and the team are in Adelaide. And so we can cover those metro areas, but anywhere else will require an extra cost for us to travel to you. But you can see there, sign up before 19th of the 12th, 25. Just would love to lock that in. you and get to know you as soon as we can, and make some great spaces with you and get to know you.
I think I might just add there, Pete, that our plan with that is that we'll be taking bookings for the actual visits to happen from term one. So that it's a case of signing up before the 19th of December this year, and then we'll book in with you a time that's suitable for you in term one to come out and visit you at the school.
Yeah, it's almost Christmas, so
yeah, already.
Yeah.
So we're encouraging everyone to think about having a free trial. We've had a lot of people who've gone through a free trial already, but if you fill in this form, we can easily set you up for a 14-day free trial. You'll get full access to everything in the Music EDnet member portal. You'll be able to see a populated version with our Harmony Grove High School dummy school for the dashboard, and then of course you'll get an idea of how that would work if we can work with you to populate it with your stuff. But of course, if you're already keen and you want to explore becoming a member school, particularly signing up before 19th of December to make sure you can take full advantage of that introductory offer, then follow this link or use that QR code to become a member school. These links are both available too on the Music EDnet website, on the membership page. So please feel free to visit that as well. You can read more about GBL on the membership page, on the Music EDnet website, and our CPD page talks about all of our professional development options as well. So there's plenty of extra information you can read all about this, the Music EDnet membership model and the portal. So at that point, I just want to ask if anyone has any questions in the gallery, or if you've had any questions from anyone, feel free to turn your mic on and ask us any questions if you'd like, or send it through to the chats. This is always the fun part of the webinar, when we ask if anyone wants to be brave enough to come and put their hand up, turn their mic on. But we'd love to ask any questions if anything's occurred to you during this presentation.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
Go on, Beth, a question?
Yeah, okay. I'll have a question. So if you pay the fee, I just had a quick look. So is it $990 a year to be a member? Is that how it works?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for your whole school music faculty, regardless of the number of teachers, number of students?
That's correct. I mean, the number of students is sort of unrelated, because really it's just if this is a membership model that supports the teachers, the students obviously get to benefit, but strictly speaking, yes, it doesn't matter how many students you've got, and it doesn't matter about how many teachers you've got either. We want to be able to cater for the whole music department and sort of provide that holistic support.
Okay. And so, for example, my school pays for each teacher in the music faculty to have a midnight music membership, because we use the resources, the lessons, the video, garage band lessons, etc. So is there a bit of, I know you said that Katie is providing some of her resources for you, but is there a crossover? Is there, would it be worth having both? Or is there no point having midnight music membership if we've got access to it through you?
What Katie has provided specifically to answer your question, Beth, is a bit of a teaser. So there's a discount that's available for Music EDnet members. There's also access to some of the webinar archive that she's got. So it's really about trying to help teachers who want to learn about what Katie does with Midnight Music and what her community's about. So I imagine, Beth, it's the sort of thing where there's having both wouldn't be a problem. I mean, obviously they've got budgetary concerns there, but they're very different kind of models. And Katie's very much community driven, and she's sort of driving the way that she's helping teach teachers about sometimes very specific applications of what she's teaching. Whereas our membership model is really about that holistic support for the music department, and even into what happens with the equipment and the planning and the learning spaces, and then of course the PD coming from daytime and GBL. So in answer to your question, that you're not going to get a full thing through us with Katie's membership, but you would get a discount. Yeah.
Sure. No, that's okay. Just interested. And the other question, just because no one else put their hand up yet, is with the resources, the thing I feel, I could be wrong, but I feel the thing that most teachers actually want are ready to go lesson plans. I know you said there's those teacher facing, student facing, like I'm assuming it's like video one-on-one. This is where you put your finger to play a C chord or whatever. Do they all align with Australian curriculum? Like, do we have like a list of what the learning outcomes are and the accessible content, etc.? Is there an example of a kind of a lesson unit that you could share?
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Thank
It's
you.
fully programmed. And because we're in New South Wales, they're programmed to the New South Wales syllabus, but easily mapped to all curriculum, and really, really quick. We can show you a program is that what you're asking? Like how it's mapped?
Well,
yeah.
I guess the short answer is yes.
Yeah. Are you seeing my screen? Am I sharing that correctly? No.
Yeah, we can.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So if we have a look at the GBL content, I tell a lie. This is where this would be is going to be, Beth. But stay tuned for these courses. So this is fully developed by Pete and Brad, but just not available just yet in here, because we are looking at a way to make it so that because the resources, and please jump in, Brad or Pete, as I'm explaining this, if you can do a better job. But the resources link directly to the lesson plans that the guys have created for each of these year levels, including direct links into Aurelia Musician, Soundtrap, Noteflight, etc. And we want to be able to make it so that teachers that are exploring those lesson plans can access all of those links, and it will just sort of work for them, including being able to be in those programs. And then when you roll it out into your school, obviously you've got your own subscriptions to those programs to work. But Brad and Pete, maybe a quick comment about what's in your lesson plans.
Go on, Pete.
Yeah, so much. I'm actually going to send you a link, Kai, because I think it's easier just to show rather than tell.
Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, I can do that as well. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but so essentially though, I guess a long time ago we stopped doing courses, Beth, and just went, what if we just put everything we've ever created online for our community, for them to remix it as they see fit. So it's everything we've ever taught year 7 through 12 over the last 20 years for me, sitting there quietly, ready for you to adapt and adopt. Yeah,
and so this is an example of like a program, a full-on program with register, and then Kyle is referring to the Canvas links with fully integrated LMS with all of the software integrated as well with the LTIs, and so links to those student-facing resources there as well. So it's all there, and you can knock yourself out. So this is just the year 7 and 8 program.
That's great. So how would the students individually see the videos? Say one wants to do bass, one's doing drums. How do I share? Do you just send links through? Are there links through this new member portal that we give students? How does that work?
Yeah, so we've created open links that they're kind of like unlisted links, if that makes sense to you. So it's like it's on the internet, but you can't really search for it, and but students can access it and it's open on the web. Yeah.
That exists with a number of the resources, Beth, and everyone too, because there's like a twofold thing we want to make available here. Sometimes teachers might want to look at the video-based resources for upskilling themselves, but then obviously if you're logged into our member portal as a teacher, then there's only so much access that the students can get because they can't log in. However, we do provide links at each of those relevant resource pages, so that you click through to the hidden web pages that Pete was just describing, so that the students can access them.
Yeah, so as an example, like you could link this page to your students, and then depending on what they're playing, they could click on their guided practice session, and we would be there with charts, video tutorials, backing tracks, and anything else that we would like to put in there as well. So it's all there.
And something that's really fun, getting back to what I said earlier, was gig-based learning is the meat on the bones of our philosophy. And as a way of promoting teachers to think about their philosophy and to see exemplars, and we've really enjoyed over the last couple of years watching teachers start with our resources and remix them, and ultimately have something that's incredibly bespoke that came out of thinking about and looking at our exemplars, but ultimately creating their own unique approach. And so that's really exciting as well.
Yeah, I totally forgot to mention the community-generated resources, just as valuable as what Brad and I offer. People doing great work and sharing it with each other. And that's something that we link as well and curate the community resources for everyone to enjoy.
Fantastic. Thank you, Beth. Anyone else got any questions? Nope. Okay.
Well, I
Well, we'll
guess,
probably have... Oh, sorry.
could I just say that it's all about the gig too. So gig-based learning philosophy doesn't just apply to the students. It applies, as you know very well from working with Pete and I, give us a gig. And so it's all about the gig applies to teachers as well. And so gig-based learning expands, and Music EDnet as well expands and adapts and grows and changes in response to what's the gig, what do the people need, and what are we jamming on as a community. So oftentimes these things don't exist because there hasn't been a gig for it yet.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's been it's a philosophy that has impressed so many people. We've, dealing with some of the guys we mentioned before about from the States, and, have picked up on it's all about the gig, philosophy. And, the word is spreading. And I think it's a fantastic way to look at what music teaching, can be, and what your programs can become, and how the equipment plays an incredibly important part too, and then the support that we can provide with all of our collective expertise being greater than the sum of our parts is what we're trying to wrap into this membership model. You got a question for us, Mark? Did you come on the screen for that?
Yeah, well, I'd just like to say that this is really exciting, actually, and I like the fact that you go into a site like this and you don't find pre-planned lessons. I think that's probably the one thing that I've been put off on different, because my work is in education technology, so I'm looking at all subjects right across the board, and so often it's a pre-planned thing. In this situation, like you said, you pulled all your resources for the last 20 years and just put them out there. And so you can sort of have this pick and choose and be very bespoke about how you construct and the resources that you pull in. That's just fantastic. I just love that. I think that's really what teachers need to be able to do, and be able to just build their own lessons from that content and use it as a rich resource to be able to pull from. The other thing I was I was thinking about as you were speaking was, from a student point of view, looking at the resources, looking at the teaching, the pedagogy, are they actually able to log in and build their own profile around their learning needs? I looked at some of the things you were doing about things like for drummers or guitarists or musicians. This is the gig-based learning thing. Can they actually build their own profile so that they're starting to build their learning resources for themselves as well?
By
Brilliant.
own learning profile, do you mean like inside the portal, or yeah, just expand on that
Yes,
idea?
very much inside the portal.
Okay.
So I log in as Mark Stone.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
trumpet player and I'm learning, and I've got, all my trumpet resources and my videos and my learning, and it's all there. And then I'm building
Yeah,
it around what I need, rather than just being an open thing. And it becomes more and more me all the time.
Mark,
No.
you
I
are
guess
awesome.
I guess I'm thinking about like an app on my phone.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for giving us the next 30 years of work, Mark.
yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, ultimately, I think when you start to think about this, about young people taking a lifelong approach to music, then and living in, and you start to think about the virtual space, then you inevitably come to, well, where is my space?
Yeah.
Which we had, of course.
Yes.
What a
Once
great
upon a
idea that
time.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so lots of people have worked on that notion of the e-portfolio, which is showing its age, right? Like if you've got an E in front of something, and I don't think anybody's cracked it yet. And I think that needs to be something that students keep with them, doesn't it? It travels, it belongs to the student and
Yep.
travels with them throughout their lives. Yeah, that's excellent food for thought. And it's something that Pete and I foster and promote with our students to say, where do you find where is it going to be for you, and what are the platforms that appeal to you? So we've never actually thought about us owning that, but rather sponsoring them to ask those questions and think, I really like these kinds of platforms, things like blogging and promoting their own presence on wherever, I guess, wherever the places that people like them music online and learn online, then we think that's probably a good place for them. But yeah, I love the way you think. That's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, something that we do in the older grades, like from year 9 onwards, is thinking about them as original artists and building their profile that way, and doing it in an authentic context. So it's not necessarily through like Canvas or an LMS. It's actually through what are people using, kind of going off the back of what Brad was just saying. So, like for example, creating a DistroKid account and learning how to be in a record company and who does what job and who's going to make the artwork and that type of thing, to the point of actually going out and publishing it out online as well. So you can see here example. I think I'm showing the right screen. Is that correct?
You are, yes.
Yeah. So here's an example of something I play my kids at nighttime, but also here is an example of a student uploading their own song to Spotify and sharing it with their friends and creating their own artist profile. And this is like something that we've discussed a lot in the community, and something that's so great is going, who else is doing a record label, or who else is creating student profiles and sharing what everyone else is up to as well.
Yeah, this is really cool, and I love it because it is the real world, and this is where so much interdisciplinary stuff happens as well, because our young musicians become producers and entrepreneurs around their music and what they actually create and what they actually do, because the platforms are there now for them to be able to do that. I think that's actually really exciting. Very
Yeah,
exciting.
and so I think also not about the commodification of music, but just about having an opportunity to create music in an authentic way for the student and share it in an authentic way,
Yeah.
is so special and cool. And also, this notion we get from Eliot and Silverman about, and from Christopher Small, that music is life, and life is music. You can't separate the two. So
Yeah.
this incredibly engaging medium we have of music gives us all the opportunities to practice what Frere calls being more fully human. And so we're not just practicing our musicianship, we're practicing our personhood as well. And the way that we try to make music in GBL in community is the way that we try to live, to be in the world in community, so that when you're practicing one, you're practicing the other, because there's no separation.
That's great.
Yeah, and I think that's when it becomes even more exciting to be involved with music education, when you take, and coming back to the why. So who am I and who are they, and why are we doing this? Because it's awesome, and it gives us all these opportunities to practice being people with people.
Yeah.
But to bring it back to Music EdNet, and to do that, we need a space to do it. We need a physical space, we need a virtual space, and we need stuff. And joining with Music EdNet gives us an opportunity to make sound pedagogical decisions about the who, what, where, why, when, and how.
And that's really like the final the point that wraps a bow around what we're trying to do with this membership model, and the joining together of Music EdNet and gig-based learning, and creating this team that we've got now and all of our collective expertise. It's we're really well positioned to be there to support schools through that very journey. And we'd love to be able to, get schools into the portal and build the membership, build the community of practice, so that it becomes richer and richer for every extra member that joins, and see what people can achieve with their music programs, with their spaces, and also get inspired by each other. So I think we're probably out of time. We've gone probably 20 minutes over. So thank you for everyone who stuck around right to the end. Really do appreciate that. We'll share this slide deck around. Those QR codes and links are there if you'd like to explore a free trial or just become a member school. And those links are on our website as well. We'll certainly follow everyone up with that information, so you've got it. And if you've got any questions or like to jump on for a personal sort of live tour of the website, please just let us know as well. We can organise that. Thanks everyone.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers. Take care.
You